I want to switch gears for a second. So I watched a video. You had the university on your podcast. You had a interview with the University of Montreal assistant professor David Kruger about AI. This interview gave me an anxiety attack. Just want you to know, very difficult time sleeping afterwards. So you're in the Valley, you're in Silicon Valley territory. How responsible do you think, and I'm sure you have contacts somewhat in the Silicon Valley world, how responsible is Silicon Valley being around AI?
I think there's no guardrails. People are pursuing self-interest, which is fine. The way for any kind of new frontier technology to develop is for entrepreneurs and scientists and researchers to kind of push the boundaries as far as possible. The thing is, this is very different from developing a new medication or a new energy source. This is a fundamentally transformative technology that could change all of human civilization. We could become completely dependent upon it. This is something that could kill all of us. I mean, even according to the folks who are leading the AI companies, people who founded Anthropic, who makes Claude, or even Elon Musk. Elon Musk says there's a 20% chance that AI kills all of us, and he's developing it. So that's a pretty high probability. And the interview, I think, goes through a lot of the different stages of this. That could be a dependency thing, that we become so dependent on AI, we kind of lose our own humanity. And if then something happens where the AI sees us as disposable, it could get rid of us. It could invent thousands of new viruses like super COVID 19s that are designed to kill us. I mean, there's so many ways to look at this. And I'm not someone who says, okay, the government needs to control all of this. We need strict regulations on everything, but we need a conversation. We need policymakers who are independent minded, who are taking these risk factors into consideration. And we're at least looking at this in a responsible way. Right now, the AI companies, the venture capitalists, and the big tech companies that control them are buying off all the politicians. Look at all the members of Congress who retired in 2024. So many of them are going to law firms and trade associations representing the AI companies. Kristen Sinema is one of them, but there are many others.
Yeah.
Look at how much they are buying.
Sinema's making a fortune post-Senate. She's doing very well for herself.
She's doing very well. And of course, for the AI companies, this is, I mean, for the amount of money that they're raising, buying a few hundred former lawmakers and regulators, this is chump change for them, because it's a few $1 million while they're spending tens of millions just hiring a research scientist to develop these models.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as a consultant on the Republican side of the aisle, the amount of money in Bitcoin and in AI is astronomical. It is astronomical. They're throwing around $8-10 million for a House or Senate race like it's nothing. And it is nothing to them. But the amount of money is preposterous. And given that polls, like the Fox News poll recently said that 65% of Americans have anxiety about AI, that's a huge amount. Those are the trans women in sports numbers. Those are gun control numbers. Those are like very lopsided numbers on one side. There is not even a conversation happening. Like and I've gotten into arguments on Twitter with David Sachs, who I know a little bit, and like I've met him before. And he said, we need a national level, not state by state, on AI. Okay, fine. I said, name the AI regulation you support. Just give me one. Give me what you want. Don't tell me like kids and pornography. Tell me a real AI regulation that you support. And there was no response. And I think that is this accelerationist opinion by especially Republicans right now, that AI is going to be not only this mass job creator, because they do think it's going to create jobs. I'm not exactly sure how, but I'm also not an expert, so I'm willing to open my ears and listen. But they also think it's going to fix the deficit problem, the budget problem. We're going to make so much money that we'll be able to pay off our deficit and debt. That sounds like a wonderful idea, but every action has a consequence. So what's the consequence? I just want to hear it. I'm not going to close the door to something. I'm not saying AI should just go away. I think it will do great things in certain respects. For every chance that they're going to discover the cure for AIDS and cancer, are they also going to be the Terminator? And I want to know, what are the odds of either which happening, and how do we safeguard one from the other?
It sounds a lot like, when I was a cub reporter in my early 20s. I was covering the Obama Clean Power Plan back in 2010, 2011. And what this sounds a lot like to me are the earnest opinions that I heard from the various clean energy lobbyists who claimed that as we shifted away from coal, all these folks in West Virginia were going to learn to code. I mean, that's literally what they said, that they would
So
go
true.
and they'd go to special community colleges that the administration was going to set up, and these vocational schools, and they would just shift industries. And look what happened. As we shifted away from coal without a true economic stimulus for Kentucky and West Virginia, thousands of people died. They got addicted to drugs and they died.
Mm-hmm.
And what AI will do is 100,000 times more powerful than the shift away from coal. This is a shift away from driving. We won't have truck drivers. This is a shift away from factories. We won't have factory workers. This is a shift away from slaughterhouses. The robots will be doing the slaughtering. And we don't really have an answer for that. And for national Republicans, I think folks like Josh Hawley and Marsha Blackburn really saved the party by pulling this kind of federalization of AI policy out of the One Big Beautiful Bill, because I think that would have been an albatross for Republicans moving into the midterms. As you're mentioning, public opinion is really just soaring in terms of this backlash to AI. It's just right now there isn't a lobby group or an interest group that's harnessing this anger. A lot of the kind of anger is kind of being directed towards data centers, which makes sense. They're the most tangible thing, but it is very volatile. I think you're on the money here talking about where, this is, trans women in sports numbers.
Ro Khanna, when he was on this podcast, said, he wants this, what was FDR's thing? Not Great Society, the New Deal. He wants an AI New Deal where basically money is redistributed to people from AI companies and they're making a lot of money. What I couldn't get him to comprehend, which was the roadblock, was, okay, if we're going to have to redistribute money because so many people are unemployed, why are we going to have high immigration at the same time? And he wouldn't go there. Like, he was like, just like, I hit the brick wall and there was no moving from progressive dogma. And I was like, let's have like an actual thoughtful conversation. But I think he's running for president, so I understand why he has to kind of be in certain types of limitations. But I think that if there was a Huey Long style politician running against AI, because look at all the unemployed young people. I know so many young people who cannot find a job, and it's not because they're lazy and it's not because they got degrees in nothing.
Yeah. No, I think you're right that this kind of solves, and it feels weird to use that terminology, the immigration issue. We've had decades of this kind of gray market dynamic in the U.S. where both Democrats and Republicans tacitly supported mass migration because they are the underclass in America that do all these kind of manual labor, low education jobs, housekeeping, construction, agriculture, that sort of thing. And if we have robots, that essentially replaces all of this work. So the need for this gray market migration goes away. And it completely changes the politics of immigration because you don't have this kind of chamber of commerce, business lobby constantly demanding it. And this is, I don't think this should be controversial for a progressive to say, because at the end of the day, the other side, what Khanna is saying is right. Like, okay, if we're going to have massive new wealth, concentrations of wealth, we should figure out how to build a society where everyone prospers under it. That shouldn't be complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's how I think Ro, as a political mind, as someone who works on campaigns goes, I think that issue is going to be the most salient for Democrats, is to have a true socialist policy. I think it's going to be through the AI thing, because it will just serve the market to such a degree, especially for young people, but not only for young people, it's for their Gen X parents. The Gen X parents who want their kid out of the house, who want their kid to have a job, who are the most supportive of Donald Trump, are the ones who will be energized to sit there in some kind of change. People forget the student loan controversies, or student loan debate, rather, is not so much a debate for young people. It is, but it's their boomer parents who co-sign their loans. Like, that's what moves a lot of these needles, is people have parents and their parents want their kids to succeed. And that's just a fundamental part of it. It's not all just blue-haired, they, thems. It's a lot of it is families and parents.
And who's paving the road towards this? It's Donald Trump. It would be an anathema for any other president to demand a golden share or an equity stake in a major corporation. Trump has broken that precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he's kind of created that norm where he's taking a golden share or an equity share in corporations left and right every other month, where no Democrat, could you imagine Biden or Obama doing this? No.
Yeah.
But now that he's kind of created the norm, I think that's the only way for a Democrat in the future to take a share of this AI wealth is to just demand an equity stake, demand a golden share controlled by the government. And you could think of ways that this could be done in a non-corrupt way. Look at the Alaska Permanent Fund that takes part of the oil royalties and redistributes it to Alaska residents. It's actually very successful, very popular there.
Norway does it.
Norway does a great job. There are some countries that do a very bad job of this, by the way, in socializing resources. So let's be clear. It's not always done well, but there are good examples out there.